right. I don't know if this is actually going. We will see. Okay, I think we are.
Alright. I don't know if this is actually going.
Oh, how about we get that muted? Yes, okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Storytelling Workshop, where we explore and celebrate creativity, stories, and characters. I'm Philip Ellering, and today we are going to be building a story live. And this is something that I've wanted to do for a long time now. And this particular session is going to be about story creation from the first little inkling of an idea. So we're not going to get into polish. We're going to be making mistakes as we're working on our story today. And you're going to see me fumble and kind of finding an idea and then generating it really quickly, getting that onto the board, and then later in later sessions we're going to go into polish and refinement. So let's kick it off. The story that we're going to be working on right now is going to be a comic strip, and this is going to be going into the book Stuffy 4, and I've done 3 other Stuffy books, and they're available on Amazon, and I'm a self-published author. And so the main idea, I'm getting a little bit of feedback here. Testing. Okay. Well, maybe we just okay. Anyway, as mentioned, things aren't going to go perfect, but um, I getting back to what we're working on here and why. So this is going to be a comic strip that's going to end up in the book Stuffy 4. And I just thought it'd be kind of cool to, rather than just show a book or to publish a book and then get that out there, to kind of show the inner workings and the behind the scenes and the creation of the book itself, and then to kind of invite people along the journey and then hopefully inspire other people to also create, and maybe we can open up a communication or a relationship where we're all encouraging each other to create and work on stories, because that's what I love doing. And yeah, so let's get into it. Um, the previous lives that I had done, we had um, we had worked one story, one little comic strip, and I'm going to do it again. And I thought today the the theme, kind of piggybacking off of the previous sessions, would be the idea of an artist and their greatest challenge. Because when creating a story, it's great to have, especially a narrative story, you have your character, you have your conflict, and you have your resolution. And a huge conflict for a lot of artists that is a relatable story, which is always good to have in your stories. Have something that is relatable to your audience. But a relatable story and a relatable challenge is the blank page. And so Stuffy, being a very creative character, he's going to go into the idea of the blank page being his enemy. And in the previous comic strip that we created, there was one little panel, and I think it was like right here where, he's like dressed up like Rambo, and he's got his bandolero of crayons or colored pencils. I haven't really decided. We haven't refined that yet, but he's going to be like the Rambo of creativity, and he's going into the challenges. And on one of them, I had just written the blank page is my enemy, and art is, and he's kind of going into the challenges. And I thought about that, and I'm like, that was just the spur of the moment idea of that being a challenge, and I just wrote it down. And in the ideation stage of creation, to like go on those impulses and really think what 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 feels right, and you're trying to jot that down. And I emphasize that in the beginning because when we learn to trust those ideas, they start expanding really quickly. But if we're already in an edit mode, then really good ideas get killed before they even begin. So I just jotted that down. I wasn't second guessing myself. And then I thought about it, and I'm like, okay, well, what's going to be the next comic strip that we're going to have in this book? And that idea just kind of stayed with me. And I'm like, that would be a great second comic strip to be in the book. And how can we have him like expand upon the idea of the blank page being his enemy? And so I don't have anything more than that right now, going into this, but I that's the inkling, that's the seed. And so as I start working this, I'm going to kind of go into my process of having just that little idea and then expanding upon it. And something that I personally found helpful, and I talked about it in a previous session, was Jerry Seinfeld talking about his creative process for making a joke. And the similarity is it's, one for one, that when you have that beginning, what is that thing? I don't know. You can just feel it. You feel it in your heart. Jerry talked about a joke that he had made, and he went through his process. And I really found the exact same thing in like when I create comic strips. It's the exact same. Is that you have this little, oh yeah, that I'm leaning in. That's exciting to me. It makes sense. I relate with it. And you don't second guess it. And then you start expanding upon it, and then you start adding structure, and then you kind of figure out what is you already kind of have the idea. And the idea for me is kind of the punchline. And so the punchline or the theme of this is the blank page. So we're going to kind of start off with that. And I'm just going to kind of spend some time thinking about this, and then I'll narrate once I kind of get it. The enemy is my blank page. Right now, audio is my blank page, is my enemy. We'll just turn that down for right now. Okay. Okay, so I'm thinking that as an artist, you sitting there and trying to it's what I'm doing right now. It's kind of meta in a way, where you're sitting there and you have the blank page. So I think that's kind of our first image is Stuffy, and he's got to be serious, right? The idea is, here, how about this is a familiar image for me. Sitting at my table and thinking, all right, he's trying to think. He's and this is a problem because as an artist, you have to get good at capturing ideas when they happen, and usually they don't happen when you sit down. And the lucky thing for us in this particular story is this is the story that we're talking about. So again, going in with no prep and trying, that is the challenge that we can all relate with. So it works in our favor. But normally, what I would recommend is go out and live, go out and experience something, and then have good note taking devices, either your phone or a pad and paper. I really like physical pad and paper. It just works better for me. Um, but in this particular instance, this is the challenge. So going into this with nothing is great. Stuffy is sitting here. First thing that came to mind is kind of what every artist can relate with is the mental chatter. Just get started. That's what they say, right? He's talking to himself. He's trying to gear himself up. He's trying to self-inspire, motivate. Just get started. Go, Stuffy. Create. Go, go, go. Go, go, go. Hmm. Yeah. So, as I'm thinking this, these panels are going to be kind of the conflict. Um, and that's what we want to get into is the let's see here. Let's see here. Just get started. Go, Stuffy. Create. Go, go, go. So the thought for me is the basic story of the blank page, and I've experienced this multiple times over, is you're trying to squeeze what's the saying? It's like blood from a rock. it doesn't want to come out. There is no blood in the rock. You're trying to do something that's near impossible, and it's through all that effort that you get frustrated, and then it's right when you give up, that's when something comes. And there's no faking that process. There's no like um, bypassing it. Usually you have to kind of exhaust yourself. It kind of goes parallel with the 80-20 rule of 80% of your effort will just be junk, and then the 20% is going to be the gold. And that's kind of what we want to do here. So that's why I was kind of thinking, I'm like, we'll have, he's trying to motivate himself, and then we're going to slowly show him losing motivation, getting more frustrated, finally giving up, um, and maybe just in complete despair. So I think we can do that. One, two. I'm just going to be making some notes. Fully surrenders. Then he has the idea. And it'd be kind of nice if this one was like a little bit of a shorter comic. Not as many panels as the first one that we did. Okay. Just get started. Go, Stuffy. Create. Go, go. Gotta get moving. He hates the blank page. So I'm thinking the other image that comes to mind is banging your head against a wall. That's what it feels like, and sometimes that's kind of what you almost do. So we have an image where Stuffy is at his drawing board, and that's kind of like a wall. And we have this shot, and if I know that I'm going to like another panel that's going to look very similar, him banging his head against a wall, then this one should be a little bit different. Just to contrast, we talked about that in a previous session of making sure each panel isn't like the exact same thing, kind of varying up your shots. It's very important for storyboarding for feature film. So we have this kind of, it's a mid shot of him with a wall. We'll have something similar, but we'll go maybe a full shot. And I'll just make kind of just drawing the note of like he's gonna be banging his head against the wall. So if these are very similar, you've got the same composition, we would want to break from that. In this middle one, creative. And to a certain extent, this is something that I've had good conversations with other people who are creating. It's like you go through this process so many times, and yet it feels like each time you do it, it's the exact same thing. You have to surrender. You have to get to that point of frustration. Okay, so then as I'm thinking about this, I know I'm going to be breaking up this shot maybe with like a close up, because we go mid shot. This is going to be, though it doesn't show it perfectly, this will be a full shot, maybe even a wide or a extreme wide, but we'll make that decision later. But if we're going to go mid shot, full shot, we should probably do a close up, maybe even just, you know, just his head, and he can be thinking. And nothing is coming to mind. So that's and he's just not happy. And the other thing to take into consideration, though it's not nice, you kind of have to torture your creations. And poor Stuffy, he's not going to be coming up with ideas just yet. So he's tortured. He's a tortured artist right here. And he's thinking, but he's thinking of like the three dots when you're texting. Like you see those three dots, and then you see them again, and then sometimes no text comes, and you're like, well, what the hell? I was waiting on the other end of that. You're waiting, and it's almost like Stuffy he's calling to the creative gods, like, give me an idea. And then he sees the three dots, and he's like, come on, come on. The three dots go, and he's like, I'm waiting, and then no text, nothing comes, and he's getting frustrated. So we go from him staring at the blank page. Now he's trying to summon the muse. Muse isn't coming, so we'll jot that idea. Summoning the muse, but the muse isn't coming. Bangs his head. Why am I not creative? And the other idea that comes to mind is it's like literally in Back to the Future, where Marty, he needs the DeLorean to go. It's very detrimental. Maybe Stuffy in this scenario, he's got a deadline, and he's like, come on, please. And Marty is like banging his head against the steering wheel, and then the DeLorean will come to life in that moment where he's like, I am over this. It's that exact same moment. And we're kind of doing the exact same thing. You know, he's like, I need this to go. Maybe we even set that up now that we're thinking of this particular story. We can use that as reference. Is now we have stakes. There's a deadline. So now our story is starting to fill out, where he needs this. Summoning the muse. I need this. We can even jot that note here. Deadline. 1 second. Hello. Elena's at the store, but I can tell her as soon as she gets back that he came over. Okay. Bye. it's not that he just wants to be creative, he has to be creative. And it's not coming. It's not coming. So he's banging his head against the wall. He's doubting his entire existence. And the other idea is that what does full surrender look like in this comic? It looks like him on the floor, where maybe it's should we go side? No, maybe it's almost like the image that comes to mind visually is like that shot of Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet in what is the name of that movie? The Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. But it's like they're sitting on their back. He's like almost like making a snow angel, but he's the unhappiest snow angel that ever was. He's going to be contemplating other ventures. Maybe something that would be the exact opposite of being a professional creative, where he's contemplating super uncreative jobs because like I said, we want him to get to full surrender. And it's only through his full surrender that he has a really creative idea. So first thing that comes to mind with he's laying on the ground, he's finally given up before he has his good idea. Now, I don't know what that idea is yet, but just kind of working through the story this way, I have done it enough where I trust this will lead to something good. So he's given up. He's on the grass. He's on the ground. I think that could be a clue, because the first thing that I thought, there's a moment in Top Gun that this reminds me of like when Maverick and Goose they're in trouble and Goose is worried. He's like, he's thinking maybe naval aviators is not the job for us because we keep messing this up. And he suggests to Maverick that they become truck drivers. Maybe driving a truck would be better for them. And he's like, what was the name of that truck company? Truck Masters? And it reminds me of that moment in that story where now Stuffy's going to be like, okay, maybe being a comic artist or a designer isn't for me. And he's laying on the grass. He's fully given up. He's on his back. And he's really thinking like, this isn't working. Maybe he should just go and be a landscaper, or not even a landscaper. Maybe he should just go mow lawns. And he can even say that. Yeah. Okay, so now as I'm thinking about this, maybe I should. What would be the best way? Let's not edit. Maybe I should just mow lawns. Just mow. Now, as I'm working through this, I'm thinking if we're going into the connection of lawns, mowing lawns, and then also thinking what kind of artist or designer is Stuffy? Is Stuffy like us, like where he's focused on storytelling? I think that would be a really good idea, because if he's trying to work something creative, maybe he himself is trying to come up with an idea that's worthy of someone reading, which is exactly what we're trying to do. And the story or the truth or the thing that Stuffy comes up with, he's on the grass, he's thinking, oh my gosh, like maybe I shouldn't do this. And he's contemplating other ideas. Well, the idea that comes from that for me is the grass is always greener. And so that becomes the idea that he is going to make a story of, which is what he's doing. So I'm going to make the note right here that he's trying to think of a story. Now, as we like go through and polish this story a little more, we're going to go back through and tighten all of this up. But again, right now is all about capture and figuring out like what are our story beats? What are the things that are important to get in each panel, and where are we going to by the end? Then we can go back through and then tighten everything up, make sure that we have like um, the right frame. We're showing enough information in each one that it's interesting and it makes sense, and we refine and get clarity as we move through the process. Maybe I should just mow lawns. Now, as this will be the light bulb moment. So literally, we'll have our light bulb, and this is like the first time we see Stuffy. He's excited. Yay! he's vibrating with excitement because he has the idea. He knows it, and he's pumped. We like it when our Stuffy's excited. Okay. The grass is always greener. The okay. This this is good. I'm thinking now the story is really starting to develop into something. Perhaps he's a designer that is trying to work on a brand for a lawn care business. And maybe specifically it's like a high-end landscaping business, and we can build that very quickly if we move things around, but we're not going to get into that. But just for the sake of us knowing the story, He's got a deadline, he's got a high paying client, and he's got to come up with a great idea. But these deadlines and that blank page, that's the conflict. Is that he's like, I should have, like, I need to get this done now. I'm being paid. I'm a professional artist, but nothing's coming. And when he finally surrenders, he gets to the point where he's like, maybe I should be maybe I should be the lowest person on their staff because I am not creative. And he finally gives up and he's like, maybe that's what the name of the company is, Always Greener. And then we can show him presenting that, maybe. Like, he will go back here, and the first image was he's not really happy, and now Stuffy's going to be happy. And maybe we can even have, like, his hat is on forward now, and I'm just he's stoked. This is kind of hard to draw from this angle, but now he's stoked. He's got a great idea, and we'll have to refine the image, obviously. Um, Idea: the grass is always greener. And then we could even just have that without any kind of action or dialogue right here. We're just showing the reverse of this panel and the progression of him kind of going through setting up the challenge, the stakes. He's banging his head. He finally falls over. And then he comes to his great idea. Let's see here. So what would be another... As I'm thinking about his body posture and then also changing it up so that we're showing the progression of his conflict and him finally getting to being on the floor. Maybe he's even upside down right here, where he's like upside down and backwards. And that's all I'm thinking about right now, is just how to make him progress. And I don't even need to know exactly yet why, like what the story piece or the reason why he's upside down. It's just showing he's trying everything that he can. And so I said that we'll have him upside down, right? And we could even have the wall there. And that's where my mind went, is that like he's upside down and backwards from this, which makes it different than this but similar. And the idea, as soon as I thought that, was he's literally trying to get blood flow, and I've done this. He's trying to get blood flow to his brain and trying to get the ideas out. So he could even say something like, "Come on, ideas. Come on. Come on, ideas. Get out of there. Get out." Now this is where we're trying to think like um, how do we end it? What is the finale? Do we want it to end 100% successfully? I think that would be good. I've done it multiple times over, and it's almost become like a trademark that like he doesn't always get what he wants at the end, which is like that's mean. I want him to succeed as well every once in a while, but it's also kind of fun to have the unexpected thing where he thinks he's got it, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, the client didn't like the idea anyway. Back to the drawing board. Um, but I think in this one, I kind of want him to succeed. Let's make Stuffy happy. So we go. The blank page is his enemy. He goes through his frustrating process. He finally has the idea. Grass is always greener. So then that becomes always greener landscaping. And so now, as I'm thinking the possibilities, I'm almost reversing his conflict. So his conflict, we're building that up of like him slowly getting to the point of surrender. Now he has a great idea, and now it's almost the exact opposite. Again, very relatable story for creatives is that like when you're in that positive um, idea generation tangent, you can follow that out and it feels like your ideas start building on one another. Always greener landscaping. That's he finally found the grass is always greener. So that becomes the branding identity of this landscaping company that he's working for, that he's trying to come up with a great idea for. Always greener landscaping. That's it. So that's it. We save you time. Yeah, that's kind of the thing. It's like he's so pumped. Now he sees it. We save you time, money. We we save you. Make green. So now, I mean, similar to like creating brand elements for any kind of company. Now he's thinking like a marketer, and he's like, green. Green is the time. If he's going to be saving his client, or if his client is going to be saving who they're providing their service for, something that's green by making um, their business look better by, you know, what am I trying to say? The landscaping better, then he's speaking from the perspective of the business. So let's get creative and think like what would be a good tagline for always greener landscaping. Always greener. Yeah, I don't have the exact solution for that. I don't like nothing's. I mean, I think the tie-in there is that that company would be stating that they are obviously landscaping, which deals with grass and like providing the service of cleaning up your lawn, but then also saving you money. So they're saying we're the best landscaping company. We're always greener, and we will save you green. And my mind also kind of goes to like green and clean by making your lawn look clean. Saving you green and make your lawn look clean. It's gimmicky, but it doesn't have to be real. Saving you green and making your lawn look clean. So then we can even change up the angle. Maybe we're behind him right now. I don't know. Now let's think ending. And it's been and this is another thing about like working a story like this. This is usually where I pause and I'll wait for the next day to really cap things off, because I've done a lot of work. Like we've taken an idea from just blank page to now we have our conflict, we have our resolution. How to really cap it off is important. And usually by this time of the marathon, you're exhausted and it's not the best time to come up with the best idea to really end it and then get people to want to read another comic. I have found through doing this process that this is kind of a good time to like pause, and then we'll come back to it tomorrow. And as mentioned in a previous session, it's a trick that Ernest Hemingway was religious about. He would always not finish in one session, leave it open, and then the next day, like as you sleep, your creative mind starts filling in the blanks. And in the morning, it's like almost 10 out of 10 times it'll come up with a solution for this. It's like it's tension that has to be released, and as we sleep, our creative mind gets rest and gets to play with the ideas of the day in a very subconscious, beautiful way. And then when we wake up, boom, there it is, Or even if we don't, then we've rested, and then we'll go through that next day, and then an idea will come. So I think that's a good place to stop. And I appreciate you guys stopping in. And if you have any questions or suggestions on how to make this better, let me know. I appreciate hearing from you guys. And